You've got a gorgeous website. You've poured your heart into your products and services. You've crafted what you believe is an irresistible offer. You've worked long days to finally get it out in the world, and then crickets. No sales, no steady stream of customers, just an empty inbox and a whole lot of wondering, what am I missing? The truth is there is an explanation, and once you see it, you'll know exactly where to focus to get those sales coming in consistently. Every month, my guest Susan Bradley helps thousands of business owners make more sales, and she's here to share the 3 things that you must do every single month to grow your sales. Hello, and welcome to the Her Business Podcast. I'm your host, Susie Daphnis. I'm the CEO of Her Business, and today we're tackling one of the most frustrating challenges in business. It's that moment where you've poured your heart, your time, your energy into your product or service, and yet sales just aren't coming in. Why does this happen? And more importantly, what can you do about it? My guest today is the brilliant Susan Bradley. She's the founder of Social Sales Girls, and she has a few answers for you. Now, Susan has decades of experience in e-commerce, and as the creator of the Inner Circle membership, Susan has helped thousands of business owners, both product-based and service-based, turn the sound of crickets into consistent sales. And in this conversation, she's sharing the 3 things that you need to do every single month to keep your sales growing, no matter what your industry, your business size, or your stage of business. Now, Susan and I are mastermind buddies. We've been in the same mastermind for over 8 years. And so I've seen firsthand how smart and strategic she is. And I can't wait for you to get a glimpse of her genius here today. So let's dive in and welcome Susan to the show. Hey, Susan, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me, Susie.
I am excited about this conversation, and I'm excited to be speaking with you. We are in the same mastermind, as I mentioned in the introduction, and I can't get enough of Susan Bradley, I have to say.
Well, you're going to get more this year.
I am. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But we're actually here to talk about 3 things that women business owners can do to grow their sales each month. But before we do that, I know I've introduced you, but give us a little bit of background on who you are and what led you to now support thousands of e-commerce store owners to grow their businesses. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Okay, well, if you haven't met me, my name is Susan Bradley. I'm based in North America, and I am a long-time self-employed person, entrepreneur, I guess. My first business I started in 1990, so a very long time ago. And my second business is what brought me to e-commerce. So after I sold my first business, I actually purchased a business that was right in my wheelhouse. It was a manufacturing product that I had carried in my stores with my brick and mortar business. And it had a lot of wholesale accounts across North America and a kind of sad little website. And early on in that business, it became very clear to me that we had to move to online sales, and we really had to learn how to sell these shoes to our direct to consumer online, because if we didn't do that, there wasn't going to be a business in a few years. Our wholesale sales were declining. And so that's when I learned how hard it is to start an online product-based business and be successful. And I suspect that it's actually not that much difference, even if it's a service business. And so when I learned how hard it was, and even though I was experienced and I had run a successful business before, I really struggled. I had to learn everything myself. I would buy courses, which was somewhat helpful, but I could never get the support. Nobody would ever talk to you or put you couldn't get anyone's eyes on your work. And so I would say a couple of years into that, I just decided, hey, I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to share everything I learn along the way. And I did it for free for a long time. And then eventually we started the Social Sales Girls, and we started teaching it. And it was just because, most people who start businesses, I'm sure your community is no different than mine. They're smart, they're capable, they can do hard things. That none of that is the problem. The problem is there's just no education that tells them how to do this, and it's so incredibly different than building a business on Main Street.
Right. And there isn't that ongoing support and hold-handing.
No.
Hand holding is what I'm trying to say that you said. And you made a really interesting distinction there between a course and what you do, where it's a community that's available to you, for the entirety of your journey if you want. That's that ongoing support as you grow your business and you grow yourself. There's someone there to show you what that next step is.
Yeah, and someone to talk to, someone to look at your work and give you feedback.
Yeah. Now, I know you've worked with so many business owners through your business, through the Social Sales Girls membership and the programs and your mastermind. What misconceptions have you seen again and again that people have about actually growing sales month on month?
The biggest one, and I think it's probably goes beyond just product-based business owners, is they literally do not understand why they're not getting sales. They have a beautiful website, a beautiful product, a great service, and yet they've done all the things, but yet it's crickets still. They just don't understand that. And so what happens is they waste a lot of money and a lot of time on activities that actually don't have any impact on what they really want, which is their sales.
And you've actually drilled that down. And so that's fascinating, right? We're here to make money. We're here to run a business. And yet we don't actually know what really makes the difference. And so we're busy, working all the hours and still not focusing on the three things that we're going to talk about today. So let's dive into what the first thing is that listeners can do to grow their sales each month. What might be that first action item or thing to track each month?
It's got to be, they have to track their numbers. And because really at the end of the day, and I say this for physical products all the time, but it actually comes into service-based businesses. I mean, you and I are now service-based business owners too. And it's really that you have to track your numbers, and it's like a funnel. It's a sales funnel, and you really need to know how many people do you have looking at your business at every stage of the funnel, whether it's the audience, the big top part of the funnel where people have awareness of your business, or it's the traffic where people have actually been to your website and they know a little bit more about you, or it's the conversion rate. Like most people really don't understand that your conversion rate, which is a percentage of your traffic, really dictates your sales. So if you have 1,000 web visitors and your conversion rate is 2%, which actually, I've got to tell you, for my product-based business, it was a little more than 2%. For the Social Sales Girls, my conversion rate generally is 2%. And so think about that. So you have 1,000 people that are coming to your site. And if you don't know that, you would think 20 sales is terrible.
It's terrible.
Right. But it's actually absolutely normal.
Yeah. And it's good to know that. I mean, what does it give us the power to do once we start tracking that?
Well, it gives us the power actually to know where we need to put our time and attention. So, excuse me, most people, when they start tracking and we ask them to track their audience, most people are shocked to find out that they maybe only have 2,000 or 3,000 people that have any awareness of their business. And we know from doing this for so many years that of that big audience at the top of your funnel, probably 1% to 3% of those people are the only people that are going to visit your website. And so you need a big audience at the top just to get enough traffic to your site. And so let
me get a distinction on audience as you're talking about it. So you're talking about, I'm going to guess, our email list, our social visitors, our website visit. No, tell me what you mean by audience. Great.
So your audience is just people who have awareness of your business. And so that would be anyone who's maybe seen one of your videos, it follows you on social media and actually gets your posts in their feed. And you can see this really easily on all of the social media platforms. It shows you how many people you reach every month. And we tell our members that, you really need to reach 100 to 200,000 people every month. Wow. And that's just your visibility. And then we know that 2 to 3% or 1 to 3% really of those people will actually click a link that you post and go and look at your thing. So I don't think people have any idea that it takes that many people, like that many people in your audience, then that many people that are visiting your site, looking at your thing, and then, just a very small percentage of those people are actually going to buy. And so most people feel like they're failing And so when you do this, then you can say, hey, the reason I'm not making sales is I don't have anybody in my audience. My audience is 2,000 or 3,000 people. And I need to start posting more on social media. I need to maybe spend a little bit of money on ads and make a video. Like, that's one of the things that we talk about all the time is let's make a brand video, whether you're a service provider or a product-based business. How do you make a very short video that tells people what you do and what the benefit is, and then make that into an ad? Something that gets a lot of eyeballs in your audience.
Right. And that's a term that I've heard you use before. It's about getting the eyeballs. So we don't just want to build the website or build the product or build the service or the course or the challenge or whatever it is. It's all about the eyeballs.
Yeah, it's all about the marketing and the eyeballs. I mean, you do have to have a good product, but if you don't know that you don't have anybody in your audience, or if you don't realize how much traffic you need to your site, the next thing you know, you're off hiring an SEO expert or like something that is not going to get you what you want. So when you start tracking it, you can actually see the weak spots and then focus your efforts there. So instead of driving without a map, you're driving with more of a map.
Right. And for those listening who maybe don't drive traffic just to a website, but they create landing pages, same thing applies.
Same thing. Yeah. If someone hits your landing page, that's traffic. Yeah. They clicked a link somewhere.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah. And that link could be, like you said, on any of the social platforms. It could be in an ad. It could be anywhere. And tracking those numbers. And I'm sure you have wonderful tools for your clients to do that as well.
Yeah. Even an email like that, if you think about it, if you're a service provider and you're sending out an email without a link back to your site, then you're missing an opportunity to get that traffic.
And it's kind of evident in what you're saying, but what can go wrong when we don't check our sales funnels each month? What can slip through the cracks?
I think there's two things. The one thing is that, of course, you waste time working on things that don't have an impact on that. But the second thing is that whenever we do something, like whenever we start a plan, say your plan is to grow your audience and you've created some videos and you're spending a little money advertising those videos, if you don't track and watch the growth of your audience over time, then you can't see your progress. Like your progress is small at first and you can't see it. And if you can't see your progress, what happens is you throw your hands up in the air and say, well, that's not working either. And before you know it, you've stopped doing that and you're working on something else. And every time we do that, Susie, we start back at zero. Like, consistency is our friend. And if we could just like constrain the number of things that we do and then do them incredibly consistently, that's when you start to make progress. But you can expect big progress at the beginning.
Right. And I've seen you do that, in the years that you've been growing this particular business, and I've been along for most of that ride, is that consistency. And not only in building the audience, making sure they get to the site, but what the second thing is that you recommend every business owner does to increase their sales, which is to review their financials. And I know that anytime we get together, you're going to show me a spreadsheet.
No, given. I always, I qualify that by saying, listen, I didn't like this either. I failed 11th grade math. I really didn't like it. But the risk of not doing that is that you don't know at any given point whether you're making money or not. You're doing bank accounting, and we all know how dangerous that is. And so it's really important to review your financials every month. And actually, a lot of people will get financials and not look at them. And a lot of people won't even do any financial work until the end of the year when they run into their accountants with, a bunch of receipts.
Yeah. And that, that's not the that's not the pathway to having a financially viable business. No. And I see that a lot. I see people avoiding their numbers, or we're focusing exclusively on revenue. What do you think causes the hesitation? Do you think it's a lack of knowledge? Like you said, you failed year 11 math. I failed year 12 math.
There you go.
So do you think the hesitation is lack of skill, or what do you think it is?
I think it's fear. Like I still remember in my first business, I'm talking like the expert at this now, but let me tell you, I was that girl who ran into the accountant's office at the end of the fiscal year saying, here it is, and nothing was recorded. And I think that when I look back at it, it was fear often that I wasn't nearly as succeful as I was. Like, it's kind of like, when you don't want to look at your credit card bill because how did that happen? And I think it's a little bit the same. I think it's fear and embarrassment, of course, because we present ourselves as business people and we're intelligent, but yet we look at that and, our eyes cross and we need to go stand in the corner because it's too stressful.
Right. And that was me for sure, Susan. And so I had to have the consistency of getting my financials every week at one level, and then getting them monthly, and then actually looking at them and being willing to ask the bookkeeper questions to say, I don't really understand that, or what happened there. But it was just so illuminating. But we don't have to look at everything. What is it that you think, and I'm saying monthly minimum. They should be, you may have a different point of view, but monthly minimum, looking at your numbers against a projected budget, what do you feel, what numbers or what statistics should we be keeping an eye on financially?
Well, for me, I look at my profit and loss statement more than my balance sheet. Like I would focus on that more. And there are just really 4 things that I look at. The first is, of course, my gross sales, my top line revenue, because that's where you set goals and you're trying to make sure that you stay ahead of the year before, or at least the same. And so gross sales for sure. But then I also look at gross margin and I look at it at 2 ways. So I'm calling it 4, but it's really the same stat 2 ways. And so I look at my gross margin as a percentage of my revenue, but I also look at it as dollars, and I call that margin contribution dollars. And really what that is that after your cost of delivering your service, your cost of goods comes off, what do you have left to cover your expenses? And often what happens, particularly with product-based business owners, is they see a percentage and they're like, okay, I have a 60% margin, so I should be good. But actually what happens is when we translate that into like, what are the dollars, even though the dollars are right there in the line, it's so easy to see that in many cases, they don't have enough dollars to pay all the expenses on the bottom half of their P&L. But they just keep thinking because they've got a
percentage
margin. Yeah. So I look at both the dollars and the percentage. And then of course, the other thing I look at is net profit.
And you do that on a monthly basis?
I do. And I have a profit goal every year. But I also, if you're doing really well with business, I think the other thing, and I think you probably have a lot of experience with this, is, you're always weighing how much profit do I want and how much growth do I want? Because you have to spend some of that profit if you want to grow. And so it might make you less profitable than the year before, but you might have gone up a whole level in sales. So that's something that I'm always looking at.
Yeah. And we have had many years where the revenue has gone up, but the profit has gone down. And as long as you're aware of that, even if you're in, most of our listeners will be in established businesses, but for those of you starting out, it may be the first year, second year, third year don't look that profitable. Yeah. But if you know why, that's different to like looking at the end of the year and going, I don't know what happened. Yeah. It's a totally different way for you to be empowered to actually understand, oh, you know what, I didn't have a big enough audience, or you know what, I wasn't tracking, or my profit margins are too low, or I need more dollars in order for the dollars to pay for the expenses to actually cover them.
Actually, for me, last year, a great example is last year we had considerably higher sales than the year before, and yet we had less profit. And I knew, like, I might have lost my mind if I didn't know that we know what it costs us to acquire a customer, and we invested in acquiring a whole bunch of new customers last year. And so we didn't see the profit on that completely until, like, we won't see it until some of it this year.
Yeah. See, and that takes quite a backbone. to an experience, which we both have, right? Yeah, it takes quite a bit of backbone to go, you know what, I know that I'm going to make money on that next year.
Yeah.
And that comes with experience, I think,
Yeah, and also with like a track record. Like if you just start checking those numbers, you won't know. But once you start doing it regularly, like looking at your data and making good decisions based on that, then you pretty much know what you can expect, like consistency wise. So then you feel more confident that yes, it will be okay.
Now, there is a third thing that you recommend every business owner do to increase their sales. Can you tell us what that is?
Plan your marketing, Susie. Plan it.
Okay.
Don't just wing it.
Don't just wing it. Plan it, don't wing it. I think that's going to be the quote for this episode. Tell us more about that.
Well, I think that a lot of people just really, so many of us just think, well, if I'm here and I'm showing up, people will come. And I think there are two things we have to do. I think we have to do marketing consistently, that is for visibility, growing your audience, and getting traffic to your site. And I would recommend that you only do one or two things, and you just do that consistently and well. Don't do 12 things, because you'll do them all badly and you won't see the results. So for me, it is really just, we have a posting strategy on social media that we use, and it's designed to grow our audience. And I do, like you, I do a weekly podcast. I don't do anything else, not adding anything else into the mix. That keeps us really busy, but it also keeps our audience. So what can you do consistently as a business owner to grow your audience and grow your traffic? So I think that's one part of the marketing that is kind of, it just rolls over month into month. We plan topics, but it rolls over. But the other thing that you have to plan, I think, is marketing for sales. When you look at what you've got, like when you think about, I always think about the outcome I want. What is it that I want to happen? And for me, I don't often break my sales numbers down. I'm more like a quarterly girl than a monthly girl. So what is the outcome I want? How many new members do we want in our membership for that month? What is the revenue that we want? So I look at that outcome, and then I just do the math and break it down. And so if I want, I know what it costs us to get a member. So if I want, say, 500 new members, I just have to figure out what it's going to cost me. And that's my advertising budget. And then what is the plan what is our plan for social media? What is our plan for email? And what are the ads that we're using?
Are you going to run an event?
Right. It's almost always an event to get that kind of members. But what is it that we're doing to actually get sales? And it's almost like you create a mini funnel within your funnel. Like, okay, how many people need to know about this event? How many people need to hit my sales page? How many people, like, what is my conversion rate? What was my conversion rate last time? And I think that a lot of people just don't do that yet. But it's actually comforting when you do.
And it goes back to what you were saying, you're looking at, well, how many people need to hit my page? Oh, if I need that many people, can I get that without doing anything different? Or do I need to be doing a strategic alliance or an email swap or running more ads or doing more videos or promoting my podcast or something? But unless we know what the plan is, and like you, I love that you start with the end in mind. Here's the end in mind. It's this 100 members, or it's this much in my e-commerce store, or it's this much in consulting, or it's this month, this many pairs of earrings, or whatever it is that you sell, starting and working backward and knowing that we can have the most beautiful products and services, but if we are not getting out the right amount of traffic to even know that we exist, and then we haven't got a process, my words are failing me, a process in place to ask for the sale, whether that's a shopping cart, whether it's an event, whether it's an email, whether it's a consultation, then we can have all the goals in the world, but it's going to be hard to realize them.
Yeah. I think you just hit the nail on the head. Is that what I see, certainly in our community, is people have a goal. Say they have a goal of selling $25,000 in a week, and they have that goal, but they then don't think about what has to happen to get to that goal. Like what do you need to do to get that goal? And so they're often disappointed, and instead of instead of looking at where things went wrong, they would say that event or whatever that strategy, the event, the strategy, whatever the thing was that they did doesn't work.
Yeah. And that's not true. We know that, right? Because someone else in a different, someone beside us might have used that same vehicle, for lack of a better word, and it works. So it's never that. It's often around the planning, around the goals, around our experience, around the support that we get, the knowledge that we have. So many things come into play. Yeah. So just to recap our sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and the other thing that that we all have to be cognizant of, and this I do too, is that our actions are the things that we're doing aligned with our goal? Or do we have a goal here and the things that we're doing are like going the other way? Because that happens a lot, right? That happens all the time. And so every time you think about what you're doing when you have a certain goal, you really have to ask yourself, hey, does this get me where I want to go? Or is this something that is like completely isolated? And
it sounds obvious, but we go off down these rabbit holes doing all the other things and not coming back to that goal. And that's one of the things I love is that clear focus, because that also bleeds into our team. Like the whole team knows this is where we're going. This is what we're focused on. So before we move on, I want to quickly recap the 3 areas we spoke about. One was about tracking our numbers. How many eyeballs are we getting and where are they coming from? The second was reviewing our financials. And the third thing was planning our marketing. And this is all gold for our listeners. Now, you mentioned at the top of the show that I'm going to get more of you this year, which I am. I'm going to see you in a few weeks in Toronto for the mastermind we're both in. But you are also coming along to our second ever Business Trailblazers event coming up in Greece. Now, I want to talk about, I don't want to talk about the event so much. I want to talk about you as an experienced business owner. What attracted you to want to, come from Canada to Greece to be with a group of business owners over the course of a week in this format?
Gosh, well, I mean, I know you, so that helped break down a barrier because I know everything you do is first class, and it will be amazing. But I think really, if I look beyond that, Susie, it's that if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm never getting an opportunity to see what other people, in a different environment, hear from different business owners, or even a different method. When I think about all the time I've spent, so I think we've been in the same mastermind. I think I'm in my 8th year in that mastermind. So you're even longer than me. And when I think about all the value I have taken from being in the room with people who are doing the things that I want to do, may have already done them and done them successfully and are sharing, I don't think I would have the business I have today if I hadn't done that. And so I think for me, it's a great opportunity to get in the room with some people who are doing things that nobody in our room might be thinking about, because basically our mastermind is all about memberships. And I'm excited to have the exposure and get the opportunity to see what other business owners are doing. And
right, because we can be in our little bubble, right, within our industries and what we do. And the thing about this retreat, it's called the Business Trailblazers, is that it's not just about business. We've both been in business for a while. This is about taking time for you to sit and reflect and think, and not just you, everybody who's there, to think, okay, I've gotten to where I am now. I've had the successes I've had the failures I've had, the trials, the tribulations. And now what do I want for my life? Because here I am, a woman in my, third act, if you like. And what do I want? What do I want business to look like? And we're not all, I know you and I, certainly, we're not into slaying it, hacking it, killing it. That's not where we want to be.
No slaying over here. Actually, though, I have to say, I am a little nervous about the hiking part.
The hiking part, that's okay. So to explain to those listening, we're incorporating business, culture, food, wine, business conversations, and 3 half-day hikes into our week. We're in Crete, in Greece, where there's some beautiful vistas, and we have a training plan. We have a gear and equipment list, and we have beautiful guides on the ground who are going to make sure that we're all safe and doing the hikes at a pace. And it's a way to stretch yourself. I know that's partly why you said yes. It's like, well, I'm I'm going to have to train. I'm going to have to do something that I don't normally do day to day to be ready, right?
Yeah. Well, I just, when you talked about this and I was listening to you, I thought, well, I can do that. And if I don't do it now,
right,
when will I do it? So, yeah.
So now is a good time.
Yeah. It's a good time.
I want to ask you about something, and this is our mantra at Her Business. Firstly, thank you for those 3 strategies. We're going to put a link in our show notes to where you can get more information about Susan. Also, highly recommend her podcast. I'm a regular listener, and plus we'll summarize the things that we talked about today. But at Her Business, we have a mantra, which is do what you love every day, which is kind of a tall order. But what does a day in your business life look like, Susan, when you are doing what you love?
Well, so you told me you were going to ask this, and I had to have a big think about it because there are so many things I love to do.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I mean, I do love the days where I just get to think. I do love the days where I interact with our members. But if I thought about the perfect day, I'm so fortunate to be at the place where our team does a lot of the heavy lifting. And so marketing is probably my favorite thing. And so I love, we have a Monday morning marketing meeting. I love starting my Monday with the marketing meeting. I also love recording an episode of the podcast with a member. Like I will do a coaching call. I don't do any one-on-one coaching calls anymore. So unless you're in our mastermind, I would. But just for someone who's really just trying to get their business to where they want it to be, to do a podcast episode that's a coaching call. Love that. And I also love taking some time to connect with my friends like you. Like I was looking forward to our call today.
Me too. They sound like terrific days. And we love a lot of the same things. I think that's why we're friends. Is there anything you'd like to leave us with?
Oh, you know what? It's harder than you think. It will take longer than you think. But when you get there, like it's so worth it. Much better than a job.
Much better than a job. That's the outcome, right? Thank you so much for joining me, Susan. I adore you.
Good to see you again.
How incredible and down to earth is Susan. I just love her so much. I'm so glad she was able to come on the show today. For so many small business owners, there is this cloud of mystery around sales. You understand the product or service, you understand the marketing, you understand your offer and how to appeal to your ideal client, but for some reason, sales aren't coming in. And the way Susan breaks it down wipes away that cloud because it really does come down to the numbers. Because you might not have a conversion problem. Maybe you simply have an awareness problem, not enough of those eyeballs that we talked about. Or you have awareness, but not enough actual traffic going to your offer. And you won't even know where those blind spots are until you actually look at the numbers. So I want you to challenge yourself. Starting this week, if you're not already looking at the statistics we talked about, take a look. How many eyeballs do you have looking at your stuff, your ads, your social media, your videos, your content? Then how many of those people are clicking a link? How many are visiting your website or your landing page or even your store if you're an e-commerce site? And then how many of those people are actually clicking buy? How many people are saying yes? Because each of those levels comes with different challenges and different solutions, right? You can't solve a problem if you don't know exactly what kind of problem you have. It doesn't have to be this big mystery. If you're having issues with sales, go ahead and sniff out where that trouble is starting. Maybe you have an awareness problem or a traffic problem or a conversion problem, which is what most people jump to. And when you have that identified, you're going to be able to get specific resources that will help you solve that problem. I love how clear Susan makes this often very shrouded topic. Now, if you want to check out some of the incredible things that Susan is doing with Social Sales Girls, I've got all her links down in the show notes of this episode. She has so much great information. I listen to her podcast. It is designed for e-commerce store owners, but I learn something every single time, and I'm not an e-commerce store owner. She's just a great strategist, a great marketer, a great business owner. And you might actually even hear yours truly on an upcoming episode, so keep an ear out for that. And of course, if you are tired of doing business alone, trying to piece together advice from the internet, and you're looking to grow your business and you're not a member of the Her Business Network, then I want you to go ahead and apply. Because inside the network, you will find the community, the support, the masterclasses, trainings, events, But most importantly, as I said, a community of other women business owners who are all trying to build the lives they love through their businesses. They're trying to get more sales, reach more people, get new clients. So if that's what you're trying to do, I would love to have you join us inside of Her Business. And you can apply now by heading over to herbusinessnetwork.com. If you are new to the show, thank you for joining us. Please tune in again, hit follow, subscribe wherever you are listening. If you are a regular listener, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. And regardless how long you've been listening, if you have not left us a review or a rating on Apple Podcasts, we would love it if you would do that. It helps us grow the show, reach more people, let more women know about these strategies, introduce them to wonderful women like Susan. And you can leave a rating or review on Apple, or you can shoot me a direct message on Instagram. You'll find us at @herbusiness on Instagram. And if you're not following us on Instagram, you definitely want to do that because we're publishing great business tips all the time. Now, once again, on our website, you're going to find a summary of today's episode, links to other resources we've discussed, and all of Susan's details. So go ahead and head to herbusiness.com/323. That's herbusiness.com/323. You'll see all the great work that she's doing through Social Sales Girls, the Inner Circle, and the E-commerce Roadmap podcast and her different programs. So as I said, if you're new to the show, subscribe wherever you're listening. Join me in the next episode. We have more inspiring stories and lessons from successful female entrepreneurs coming up. So I'll see you next week right here on the Her Business podcast. Bye for now.